Hello, in newly built PÖFF TV booth, which is behind our main cinema at Black Nights Film Festival. I'm Edvinas, I'm one of the programmers here. I'm Lithuanian, but it's a pleasure to welcome you to discuss with our filmmakers. And today we are back in our official competition with Irish film Anne. It's a truly heartbreaking drama based on real events, but the man together and mastermind of this film, Ciaran Creagh, screenwriter, director. For him, Anne is a second feature film he directed and third film he wrote. All films were here in Black Nights. Welcome, Ciaran. And of course, we already saw this film with audience, and it's a really devastating film which stays with you. And first thing I wanted to ask, when you learned about true events and how?
I suppose the main character in it, she wouldn't be too dissimilar age to myself. So when I was growing up as a teenager, I would have been aware of that story when it actually broke back in Ireland in the 80s. And then subsequently, about 4.5 years ago, a couple of articles appeared about Anne Lovett. And, you know, they were really strong and it kind of really affected me in a way. And, you know, when you're writing, if something affects you and it gets you, you just have to, nothing will stop, you just have to just start writing. And that's literally what I did. And as I said last night, we had a great audience there last night. And as I said to them, it's probably the easiest screenplay I ever wrote in my life. It was like, I think I redrafted it 4 times. And it's just such a strong story, it's such a heartbreaking story that when I decided to write it, I was amazed that nobody else had done it. Like there had been a documentary maybe on it from maybe 20 years previous, but nobody actually wrote about the film, so I just said, let's just do it, and that's what I did.
And of course, is question-raising film, and because situation itself, it's really so difficult to understand how it could have happened at all. A girl who was pregnant, but nobody noticed it. And I really wonder how much you had to investigate by yourself while writing a script.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, first of all, obviously, it's 38 years ago since it happened. So things have changed a lot in the world in 38 years, especially in Ireland. So there was a lot of information out there, and at the time when it happened, there was some furore in the papers and also on TV. So there's a lot of information out there to get. Where it happened, and the family involved never spoke about it, and they wouldn't talk about it. And then other research I did would be say from official documents and the coroner reports and whatever, like, you know, I'm just trying to piece it all together. But as you see from the film, it's a simple story that it's over like 13 hours, and it just maps out one day in the last day of our life. So it's actually, it's quite in a way, it's kind of an easy sort of film to write. And we made sure that we kept it simple, because I thought if you actually cluttered it up too much, it just wouldn't work.
But did you try or made any efforts to contact family members?
I made 2 different efforts. We did contact the family, but they didn't reply. And then the town where it happened, this town called Granard in Ireland, I knew somebody who lived there, and they kind of went talking to people, but nothing came back from it.
Yeah, we understand that Anne had world premiere in Tallinn, but I also wonder, do any family member, of course they know that this film exists, right?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, like, I suppose because it's the world premiere, there's only been kind of a small bit of kind of knowledge made public at home in Ireland. So I think we're going to be hopefully launching it, the Irish premiere next year, early next year. So when that happens, then it will be, I'd say there'll be a lot of attention to it then, and attention, debate, and I would say then they'll definitely know then.
So when you wrote a script, of course you had to cast rightful actors of various age. How you chose leading actress, because almost all film is on her shoulders, although half of a film she has to lie to pretend.
It's kind of like half and half. It's half she's acting, half she's lying in a way. Well, for the part of Anne, it was an actress called Sarah Devlin, and so what I did is I contacted all the agents and I got all the similar sort of age sort of girls into me. Obviously, this is COVID, so it came in tapes, and we went through all the tapes. We kind of narrowed it down to 6 or 7 girls or actors, and then I actually did meet them, and we taped them, and then we just sat down, we decided, and she was the one for us. Like, and obviously I think we chose well. In relation to the other cast, I mean, Eileen Walsh plays her mother, and like she's a very established Irish actress and a terrific actress. Like, you know, and what I was going for right across the cast was really, really strong actors who can hold their own, because I'd class myself as a bit of an actress director, so I don't move the camera much in a way. And I know it's moving a lot in this film, but it was the one shot. So we're looking for the performance from the actor rather than kind of cut. The camera doing the acting. So I prefer the actor to the acting.
Yeah, and you mentioned already that this story takes place for 13 hours. Did you had an idea to maybe you have done this way to shoot it chronologically?
Yeah, absolutely. From the very start, I mean, literally, the script that was shot was based on the script that was written the very first time, and it was always going to be starting at 6:30 in the morning and finishing at 7:30 in the evening. So we actually originally, the working title was called 13 Hours before we changed to Anne. So it was always going to be like that in chronological orders, and it was just a matter then of getting everything we wanted into like an hour and 40 minutes, because when we assembled the film it was 2 hours 20 minutes, so it was just too long. So we just, for a pacing perspective, we had to cut out 40 minutes just to keep it kind of going, because the sort of film that it is, the first half is kind of slow moving and the second half just runs away because after the event.
Yeah, and despite very sad story in the film, Anne looks on screen especially spectacular, and that's biggest contribution from David, your cinematographer. And in the beginning of the film, I really felt it's going to be one shot film, and maybe you can elaborate on this decision and your talks with David, how you found this visual language for Anne, especially long takes.
Well, I mean, when I wrote it from the first drafts, it was going to be following Anne, following the townspeople, following back to Anne. So we had to set up a way of working that. So we kind of had a leading follow. So literally, you follow and then you lead, and that's how we kind of cut from scene to scene. Effectively, it was a one-shot movie we wanted in our mind, but it's very difficult to achieve a one-shot movie because if you're covering a full day, it's very hard to get 13 hours squeezed into 2 hours or whatever. So what we did is we did no coverage. We did 87 setups for the film, which is every time we moved the cameras to set up, and we used 71 of those cuts in the film. So obviously, you know yourself, a normal film could be 500, 1,000 setups, like we had 87. So each take is quite long. So what we wanted to do as well, which is quite difficult from the cinematography perspective, is that we went into houses and we came out of houses and back into houses. So the lights changed. So it wasn't just like the focus puller folks did, the fellow doing the iris and the whole. So it was actually quite complicated. So, and the whole film was done on Dave's shoulder. The camera was on his shoulder the whole time, like, you know. So it was a tough film on him, but you know, we work very well together and we have a good relationship. We've worked a few times before, so we know what we want, we know what we like, and hopefully that kind of came across.
And he had to run a lot. Kilometers.
Yeah, he ran a lot, but obviously it's a heavy camera, but obviously he must be fit.
And you also had to choose location, also specifically for your shots, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was shot in a town called Boyle in County Roscommon. Now, my mother grew up quite close to it, so I knew Boyle very well. And Boyle is actually, it's quite old-fashioned, and I mean, like I'm walking around here in Tallinn, and the old town is beautiful. Boyle, a lot of streets are very 1960s, 1970s, and it hasn't really been converted to the modern kind of flashy signs. So it was ideal for it, and it also had this flow because we needed a kind of circular, so people could walk along and people hop into alleyways and reappear, and we just needed that flow to work, and it actually worked really well for us. Like, you know, it was a great town, great location. And if you see the film, I mean, people have asked me, tell me about the production design. I said, well, there wasn't really much. This is the streets of Boyle. We were just lucky, like.
Thank you, Ciaran, for trusting a world premiere of Anne to the Black Nights Film Festival. I think Anne is a thought-provoking film. It must raise questions. It must divide audience and to create a debate and discussion. And if you like to catch a film like that, Anne is still playing in Black Nights, or you always can find it in other festivals, and I only can wish you a smooth journey to other festivals probably in 2023.
Thank you.
I think it's a film which deserves to be seen, and especially as we talked on big screen. Because
for sure.
it's also spectacular movie. Thank you for joining us for this episode of PÖFF TV. I'm Edvinas, one of programmers here, and see you with our films.